3 a.m. podcast. We got Leila Reyes on today. She is an author of a book on shame and trauma. Yeah.
Yes.
And I happened to stumble upon one of your videos on Facebook that you were putting out, and it really spoke to me. And I said, man, I want that woman on my podcast. I like to talk a lot about trauma and shame and all of that
Okay.
stuff that comes with it and how it affects our relationships. So, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Leila Reyes. I've been a coach for over 20 years. I
Wow.
wrote this book about, I'm going to say about 2.5 years ago. And it's not really a memoir, or it's more like how to get free of the impact of abuse in your
Okay.
life. And yeah, so I've been working with people around relationships and how to get free of the impact that abuse, early trauma has on your adult relationships. Yeah.
It's a little grainy and it's breaking up. Are you on Wi-Fi or are you on cellular?
I am, let me check. Let me see here. Where am I? Should be on Wi-Fi.
Will cellular work better?
It's showing that it's not connected. Let's see. Let's see if is that a little better?
Hold on, you
Where
are
are we?
frozen. Your picture's frozen, but I hear you coming through.
Okay. Well, let's see. How is it now?
Okay, I
Hmm.
think you're gone.
Okay, well, that's weird. Let me turn the Wi-Fi back on.
Okay.
Huh, that's strange. Okay. How is that better or no?
I don't have your picture at all now.
Okay, let me
I don't
go
have
to
your
another
video.
space. Okay, let me go to another space and see if it will work better over here.
Okay. I apologize.
That's
I've done
okay.
whole 2-hour episodes and they disappeared 10 minutes in. I had no idea. It was just me
Oh,
talking.
really? Okay. Can you see me now or
All
no?
right. No, that's a little bit better, I believe. I think you're not
Okay.
breaking up. We will start over, okay?
Okay, maybe I should put my headset in too.
Oh, that might
What?
help. Yeah.
Let's see. I don't know if that'll help for the audio. I mean for the video, but
Oh, there we go. You're coming through better. We won't start over because then I have to send the link all over again. Oh, there you go. All right, we're gonna start. Like I said, we're all raw and unfiltered. So we have Leila Reyes on today. This is 3 a.m. podcast. She is an author of a book on shame and guilt. And I came upon one of your videos on Facebook. It spoke to me. I like talking about shame and guilt. I like digging into it and
hmm
learning things.
hmm
So I'm going to just be here as a learning experience and probably ask you a bunch of questions.
Wonderful. I love it.
So, all right, you want to introduce yourself again? I apologize for that. We had a technical difficulty.
Yeah, no problem. I'm Leila Reyes, and I've been a coach for about 20 years. And I work with people around uh, sexual abuse, early trauma, and how to get free of the impact that abuse has on your adult life and relationships.
Okay. All right. What set you on this course? I know you talked about some personal stuff in the
Yeah.
book. I did
Yes.
I did not read it cover to cover, but I did skim it because I wanted to have natural curiosity about
Yeah.
this episode. So
Sure.
you got pretty personal. Yeah, what set you on this
Yeah.
path? What set you on the path? So you've been
hmm
relationship coach for over 20 years?
Over 20 years. Yeah. Over 20 years. And what really started me on that path, if we go back a long way, I was engaged to be married, and I um, thought, like, okay, now I'm going to have to deal with this because I was going to have children. And then that meant that I had to make a decision around my father being in my children's life and what I was going to do there. And so what happened was I ended up confronting him, and he took responsibility, and then we went on this journey of healing and responsibility and accountability, and it completely changed our relationship. And so one of the things that I discovered in all of this is that the impact, the what happens to us in our early lives is not the problem. Everyone has some kind of trauma. Everyone has something that's happened, but it's the meaning that we make around what happened to us. And so the meaning that I made was that I don't matter. And so I went on to live my life and my relationships in through the lens of I don't matter, which kind of gave everyone permission to treat me like I didn't matter as well.
Okay.
And
So
so
so you
in
were a
yeah, go
victim
ahead.
of sexual abuse.
Yes, and I'd
Am I
prefer
correct?
to say that I'm a
Okay.
survivor of sexual abuse. But
Yeah, yeah.
yes, yes,
Okay.
a
Good
survivor of
frame.
childhood
Good
sexual
frame.
abuse. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, victimhood is one thing, right? We can go forever inside of victimhood, and certainly I did that for quite some time. This is what happened to me, and so therefore I can't do this, or therefore it's your fault that this isn't happening in my life, or that my relationships are this way. But at some point, it's about taking responsibility for our lives and the trajectory in our lives, and it's not about letting go of the past, in that sense. It's about um, discovering what's actually true about what happened, which shifts the way that you relate to yourself and the way that you relate to other people, giving them permission to treat you well or treat you poorly. And
Okay.
and I lived that.
How did that show up in your relationships? How did that because I know I a lot of times people that's I think that's where the shame thing comes in, right? Is a lot of times people look at themselves wrong and they have shame around that sort of thing.
Right. So what I in inside of the belief that I don't matter because I was sexually abused, what I ended up doing was accepting behavior from other people that when they didn't treat me well, I disappeared myself. I made other people more important than what I want. I disappeared my like completely my desires, my needs, my uh um you know just completely focused on the other person, which which kind of made it so that when we talk about relationships, it's like, wait a minute, who's in this relationship? Like to be a chameleon and to kind of, to align with the other person, and then it's like, okay, I'm not even here anymore. So how could that be good in a relationship when there's just one person in the relationship?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So you that seems to go along with boundaries. Yeah. It's hard to you don't go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's, go ahead with but finish your question there so I can, it
Yeah, I
does
was gonna
go
say
along with boundaries
yeah,
for
that
sure.
I guess that yeah, that goes along with boundaries and maybe not feeling like you're worth setting setting boundaries, which then allows other people and tell me if I'm wrong. I'm a layman. I'm completely I've only been just talking to people for a couple years. Um so that would you not having boundaries allows other people to just kind of treat you however they'd like.
Right, absolutely. Yes,
Okay. Okay.
yes. Yes, and when you're letting other people, when you don't have boundaries, I mean, all underneath all of that is, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, right? Which kind of caused me to um caused me to again disappear myself and just not even take myself into consideration. And really, I mean, years ago, it was like if I was in a relationship with someone at some point, it would be, where's Layla? Like I didn't have an opinion. What do you want? What do you think? What do you, right? These are impacts of early abuse because it as a child we don't want to be rejected. We don't want to be, we don't want to be abandoned. We don't even with abuse in the picture, we don't want those things to happen. And so there's this unconscious thing that happens as we grow older, which keeps that belief in place. We don't even realize it. We grow up so slowly, breath by breath over time, that we've kind of enmeshed ourselves with those earlier beliefs. And it can be very difficult to recognize what's true about ourselves and then to treat ourselves in ways that that we should be treating ourselves, which signals then to other people to treat us well as well.
How did that affect you outside of your relationships? Is there an effect? There's got to be an effect, right, outside of relationships?
Well, I think it affected me in ways where I could look at things like even in school, like to do really well in school, but to not know anything when I was done with school, right? Like to just like completely and totally learn how to take a test or learn how to not, a rejection would be to not get an A in class. So it could, it extended into other areas like that. Not another area that it impacted me, and I think this is really common, is I I I always wanted to go into the career that I'm in now, but I would align with what my mother wanted me to do and take classes or go to school to do something different than what I'm doing, what I would want to do for me,
Okay.
right? So that was another way that it showed up.
Okay.
Hmm.
Um, okay. So you've been a relationship coach for over 20 years. When did you write the book?
Just about a year and a half ago, it was 2.5 years ago. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I wrote it 2.5 years ago, um, and it was quite a journey in that I needed to make sure that everyone in my family knew about what had happened, and to just make sure that everybody was comfortable, or comfortably uncomfortable with me
Yeah.
putting it out there. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get a good reaction from that? How did that go talking to your family about it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know my father and stepmother were completely on board with it and supported me 100% around that, but I didn't actually publish the book until both of them had passed. And my kids, they have written a section, or my son wrote a section in the book. And both of my kids wrote a section in the book around their experience of their grandfather, and because through the work that we did, we created a really remarkably a, a safe grandfather for them. And that kind of is revealed in what they had to say about their grandfather and how he showed up with them after therapy and after, many years of self-reflection and and work. Hmm.
Okay. How is your relationship with your father now? Have you
Well, my
forgiven
father,
him? Because I
yeah,
think you talk about that a little bit in the book.
Yeah, I do talk about that a little bit in the book, and he really did. In the main thing that happened after I confronted him was the next day we were both in therapy. And so over that time and working through all of the stuff that we worked through together, and then he continued working on things himself, he ended up becoming one of my best friends over time. And I took care of him the last couple years of his life before he passed. So I was with him when he passed. And
Okay.
I'd say that, to have someone, who has like done something pretty horrendous and then to be able to turn that around and have it be uh like he's probably one of the people that I have respected the most in my life, and just the way that he showed up in all of that.
How do you, that's interesting. I've always found the concept of forgiveness interesting. How do you draw that line between forgiving and condoning?
Well, forgiveness is never condoning. Absolutely.
Okay.
I could forgive my father for what he did, forgive anyone for what they've done, but that doesn't mean that they get access to me. That doesn't mean that
Okay.
I continue to or forget. Forgiving does not mean to forget. There were times there were like one of the things that we worked through in this um uh in the work that we did together was what are the uh um, red flags, or what are the things that might indicate that there might be another abuse that would happen. And so we were very aware of what those triggers would be. And I
Okay.
remember one time in particular where he was going through a really rough time, and we had such an open communication that I asked him about it. So there was communication about it, and being able to address that. So it's not about forgive and forget. It's about, okay, this happened. I'm not going to pretend that it didn't happen, or that, maybe I don't have to, that I don't have anything to worry about in the future. Even though I felt very confident in that he was safe and everything, and it turned out he was. But that didn't mean that I'm going to close my eyes to it.
Okay. So, I have always been very fascinated in the way men and women relate to each other. And I've always been
Hmm.
fascinated in romantic relationships. And when I first started my podcast, I wanted to figure out why we treat each other the way we treat each other and why
Yeah.
there is so much discourse between men and women.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good inquiry. A really good inquiry. What did you discover so far?
I discovered a lot of stuff about myself. so,
It
so
has to
I
always go back
literally
to
went to
yourself,
try to
right?
figure, yeah, yeah, like I went to try to figure people out because I went through
Yeah.
a really bad marriage. I lost my leg, and I went through a really
Mm.
deep time in my life where I just resorted to drugs and alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't get a lot of support with the losing my leg, so it took me a long time after
Mm.
the divorce because I was dealing with the divorce and I was dealing with losing my kids and a lot of other stuff because I had went just south in my life, and it took me a while to deal with the fact that I had lost my leg. But then I was like, why didn't I get the support I felt like I needed? I didn't know how to ask for. So why,
Uh-huh.
like, who are we? And and I
Well,
thought maybe I'm just missing something. Go ahead.
you just named something that's really important, which is you didn't know how to ask for it. You didn't know
Yeah,
how to ask
yeah,
for the support. We go around making assumptions. We go around kind of like just with expectations. I did this for you, so there's an expectation that you're going to do it back or whatever, and never really
yeah.
having the deep conversations around what matters to us and what we need from each other. Absolutely. I see this a lot. And I really do believe that when we are very young, we make a belief about ourselves with whatever happened. So this didn't start when you were an adult, right? Around relationship, around what happened there.
No,
I
no,
believe it starts,
not at
right?
all. No.
Right. It
Yeah.
starts when we're really young. So how old were you when something happened and you made a belief about yourself that
I
isn't
can
really true?
I can say that I've always been a people pleaser. I've always felt like I needed to work extra for someone to
Mm-hmm.
love me. And so
Yeah.
that's why I showed up. No boundaries. No
Yeah, yeah.
boundaries at all.
But hold on
Feeling
for a second, though.
okay.
Hold on
Okay.
for
Go ahead.
just a second, because
Yes.
because that people pleasing and to it ha something happened before you discovered that the way that you get your needs met is through people pleasing. So it happened before the behavior. Something shifted. Something, either you were like, so um if you're people pleasing, then there's going to be something maybe that is being expressed to you that you're not good enough, you're not doing something good enough, or you're not like, do you know what that was for you?
Yeah, I know. I know exactly. I know exactly what that is. So I grew up. I have a brother and sister. I got
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed with really bad ADHD when I was 5, I guess. And I'm not
Okay.
sure if I
Mm-hmm.
believe in ADHD or not, but I got diagnosed. I was on meds from when I was 5, and they ended up putting me in social services over and over and
Mm-hmm.
over, and sending me
Mm.
to different relatives' houses, and my brother and sister stayed home. So I felt like
Okay.
I was not worth being a part of the family.
Okay. There you go. I'm unworthy to be part
Yeah.
of the family. And so then what do you have to
Yes.
do in order to, to um, compensate for that? I'm unworthy to be part of the family. People pleasing sounds like a really good thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is it's a great thing for a kid to do when we don't have anyone there to tell us what's actually true, that our worthiness is not connected to whether we have ADHD or not, or, you know, any of those things. We don't
Yep.
have somebody, telling us what's actually true here. We make up this meaning and then we grow up slowly over time and we become, I would interlace my fingers and show you that I can't do it because I'm holding the phone. I don't, um, but we grow up so slowly that we can't then tell the difference is which part of us is actually still living the belief
Yes.
that I'm unworthy. And then we choose someone. We don't, maybe we don't, tell people what our needs are because we believe we're not worthy for our needs to be met, even though we know we
Yep.
are. That's where this dichotomy comes into play because there's part of us that believes that's 5 years old, and then
Yeah.
the adult part that knows better. But when we're faced in a situation or we're up against something, we'll tend to revert back to that belief and show up in ways that then we're actually the source of our
Yep.
unworthiness. Because if you felt you were worthy to have your needs met, then you would have asked for them to be met and wouldn't have settled for anything less than them being met, right?
And so, yes, and I know in my life, so the way it presented in my life was that I still got my needs met. It was just on the back end through manipulation. So I
Yeah,
would manipulate a situation to feel loved because
yeah, yeah,
I would create chaos.
yeah,
I would create
yeah.
chaos in my relationships because that felt like love.
Right, right. Right.
Yeah.
But then it never ends up as love in the end with, right? But there's strategies that we
No.
learn. We're just, if we can be really gentle with ourselves in realizing that we all just really want to be loved. But
Yeah.
in order for that to be really something that is really, um, you know, authentic and that we can let the love in, we actually need to show people our soft underbellies and we need to we need to bring that vulnerability into the relationship and say, I really have, I really have this sensitivity around not knowing whether I'm worthy of having my needs met. And I don't want to put that on you, right? And I want my needs met. Would you be willing to do this for me? Would you be willing to do that for me?
Yeah.
And those conversations, when you're having them early on and you're testing it out early on in a relationship, then you're getting information that tells you these are red flags or green flags, which is something that I have on my website, a little card that, like you can print out and it says red flags or green flags. Like these are the red flags. If you're dating somebody and you're getting into a relationship, these are things to check out. Because if not, you're going to be going down that road of not knowing that you're, recreating that unworthiness in a relationship.
Yeah, and so that's what I figured out when I started trying to figure out what makes people tick. I ended up kind of figuring out what makes me tick, and
Yeah.
it was actually a messy process, a very very messy process because I didn't want to have to confront any of it. So I
Yeah.
think we are our own worst enemies sometimes because
Yes.
so it was messy. Dating became messy after that because I did not know how to express my needs. I had never been taught how to express my
Right.
needs. So
Right.
I'm a man.
Exactly.
I'm a bull in a china shop. So
You're
I
what?
would
What'd you
barge
say?
in and I would like,
Oh, born
huh?
in a china shop. Uh-huh. You said you're a bull in a china shop.
I'm a bull in a china shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
would rush in and just be messy as fuck, trying to express
Yeah.
myself and express my needs. And I had a hard time trying to find that
Yeah.
fine line where you're reading nuances.
Right, right. Well, you never learned them, right? When we're kids, we don't learn
No,
those things. So yeah.
no, we
But over
don't.
time, you practice it, you learn it, you try it, try it again, and over time you get good at it. But it takes practice. It takes going out there and the thing that you normally would do, like if you normally manipulate to get your needs met,
Yeah.
the that'd be the old behavior. The new behavior is to act something like to ask for what you want directly. But
Yes.
in order to do that, see, here's the rub with that, is that in order to do that, you have to take the risk of being told, no, I don't want to meet your needs. Right? And so it takes
Of being
that's the
rejected. Yes.
vulnerability. Right, right. It takes the willingness to be rejected, the willingness, the willingness to have someone say, no,
And then,
you don't matter enough to me to meet these needs, or I'm just not capable of meeting them for you.
yeah, and I realized that a lot of us in a relationship will disguise our wants as needs so that we don't get rejected. Because if you tell somebody, I
Mm-hmm.
want something, it's easier for them to
Mm-hmm.
reject you. But if you tell somebody, I need this, then it kind of sets it in
Mm-hmm.
stone. And it's kind of
Right.
another manipulative way to
Absolutely.
bypass getting rejected.
Right, right. But the thing is if you don't say up front that this is a need that you have, you're actually
Yeah.
setting yourself up for future rejection because you don't actually know whether or not this person is willing to meet your needs when it is a need. And so then when the need comes up, where is that person? Because you never
Yeah.
really checked it out early on, right? So it's a total
Yeah.
setup.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The remedy for this
So
is always going to be direct and to be, willing to be messy. Messiness is great because, is you can apologize in that. You can say, "Oh, I didn't do that right. Let me try that again." Um, that isn't exactly what I meant by that. Here's what I meant. This is what I need. And as long as you're both doing that, and actually I'd say when both people do it, but I have worked with quite a few people where one person is doing that consistently and it shifts the
Okay.
relationship as well. Because if one person is doing it and
Okay.
one person has those skills, then they're not going to be, you know, drawn in by the manipulation. They're gonna, say something like,
Yeah.
"It sounds like you have a need here. Can you say what you really need from me so that I can hear it and see if I can meet
Yeah.
that need?" Right? So if one person's doing it, the problem is when both neither person is doing it, then we kind of ping pong back and forth off of each other's core wounding. And that is going to get us nowhere except suffering.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's understandable. So in 20 years of relationship coaching, what do you think the most prevalent thing you work with people on? Would it be trauma? Would it be the stuff they carry with them into the relationships?
Absolutely, 100%. And people will don't always know that that's what's happening, but they'll say like something like, I always attract unavailable men. Like nobody's really showing up for me. Nobody really wants to commit, right? Well, we
Yeah.
usually find out that they're the ones that are setting themselves up in the beginning with who they're choosing. Like if I really want to be in a committed monogamous relationship and I go out with people who are right away saying, I'm polyamorous, or I'm never getting married again, and I know I want to get married, and they're really clear I don't want to get married, but those are the people that I'm always dating. Well,
Yeah.
that's why, because it's familiar. It takes a risk to step out of the familiar and then choose someone who's actually really wanting the same things that you're wanting.
Okay.
That
Okay.
right there is it really is a skill set to be able to practice that, and it can feel when we're taking a new behavior that we're not used to taking, like asking for our needs to be met, it can feel like we're dying. Like it can feel like imminent death. It can, the
Uncomfortable.
visceral, oh, the very uncomfortable, not just uncomfortable, but a visceral experience of, almost like, I know I'm going to be rejected, or I know, you know, and to a child, I say it feels like you're dying because for a child, that's very real. And that felt sense in
Yeah.
our body gets activated when even though we're adults, that child felt sense in our bodies gets activated when we're taking a risk to step outside of our comfort zone and do something different.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to do. I think a lot of times we choose comfort, even if it's tragic, over
Yeah.
discomfort. And I think we a lot of times
Yeah.
we choose that.
Yes. And I'd say, even if it's, you say comfort, but even if it's uncomfortable, we choose a familiar. We'll go back to the familiar.
Yeah,
We'll go back to what we're used to.
that's right.
I remember a time early in my life where I was dating this man, and he was so good to me. He treated me so well. He was just wonderful person, and I chose somebody who was not treating me well. And I remember having the thought, at least I know what I'm getting over here. At least I know
Yeah,
but this guy over here, well, he could be an axe murderer. Like I really said that to
yeah,
myself,
exactly.
like he could be, because I don't know what his deal is, but I know what this abuse is over here, right?
Yeah,
Like I had
yeah,
that kind of like, oh, like, like let me get away from, someone treating me like I mattered, and let me come over here and create a life with someone who treats me like I don't matter. Like, yeah, that's
that
real.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
How do you help people? So let's say they are dealing with, a lot of, we all have trauma. I think we all have stuff we carry with us
Yeah.
anyways. I'm not,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
all bring it into relationships. I'm a firm believer, and and I would like your opinion on this. We can't heal relational trauma by ourselves. I'm a firm believer of
No,
that.
no, no, no. The trauma happened in relationship and it gets healed in relationship.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. So
I because I
we need to, yeah, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, we just need to, we need other people in order to get the feedback that things are different. One of my teachers told me one time that you can be this wonderful monk meditating in a cave for 20 years and be the most incredible person. Go in there, you're an asshole when you go before you go in, and you're in there and you're just, 20 years of meditation and come out, and the first person you meet, you're the same asshole as you went in with. And I think that just described, the like you need people. Like, yeah, you can get along with yourself just fine if you're all alone, but once somebody walks into your space, you're like, oh, you're snoring too loud or something like that. But
Yeah,
here's
that
another
makes sense.
thing. Here's another thing is that, I remember going through this whole thing with my father, and I, healed the relationship with him. And the unconscious thought was, if the abuse didn't happen, or if he took responsibility for what he had done, then all my problems would be gone. And
Okay.
that's something that was really fascinating to me to kind of discover as I worked with many people, is that the impact of the abuse continued in my life and in my relationships, not because, you know, I was still holding on to something around my father, but because the belief that I had about myself, that I don't matter, I'm unworthy, not loved, whatever those are, it is embedded. It's like enmeshed into our bodies, and
Yeah.
and um and so what I discovered is that that's really the key to it, is that it's ours to do. It's ours to heal. It's
Okay.
not that this, what this is healed out here, great, but now it's the relationship that I'm having with myself. And you can never have a better
Correct.
relationship with someone else than the relationship that you're having with yourself. It's not possible. I don't think it's possible. And so when I would work with people, this is one of the things that I notice, is that when abuse happens, no matter what, guess what? It's still yours to deal with, no matter whether they take responsibility for it or not, it's still yours to take responsibility for what you're going to do after the abuse, how you're
So
going to
how
be, how
I
you're going
like
to
that
show up.
I like that you mentioned your relationship with yourself, because that was going to be my next question. Um, so how do you help people mend their relationship with themselves? How does that process go? Because I know
Yeah,
that is very embedded and it's very deep.
yeah. It's very deep. It's very deep. And it is not something that just can shift overnight. But when people, when one of the things that, depending on, like what is being said, like to the person when they're in that, like there's little light bulbs that go on, right? And so the main thing that I'm doing is I'm guiding my clients to step outside of that comfort zone, the familiar way of being, and show up as if there's someone who's worthy, as if there's someone who matters in the world, to take that new behavior. And it does feel like stepping off of a ledge. It really, really does. But then what you're doing is you're getting feedback When you go, okay, I'm going to ask for my needs to be met here, when you've never done it before. Well, you're going to get
Yeah.
some information back from that. Either this person is going to want you to meet your needs or not. So I
Yeah.
tell a story in my book about um, uh, this person that I was dating, and he would always walk a little bit ahead of me, and he would let the door kind of like when we'd leave a restaurant, he'd let the door slam, and not hold it open for me. And he'd just get in the car. He wouldn't open the door for me. And
Yeah.
I remember I call him John. His name's John is what I use. Um, but so inside of my belief, I don't matter. I'm gonna act and show up in certain ways, right? So I could um, just like blow him off and say I'm not going to see him. He's such a jerk. Like, look at what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's just like he doesn't not treating me like I matter at all, right?
Yeah.
And then just not see him, don't answer the phone, bye, right? I could,
Yeah.
and then if I did that, I'd be complaining to my friends about what a jerk he was, right? Like
Yeah.
that, yeah, look at what he's doing. And, so in doing this work, in taking the risk to step out of my comfort zone, which would be to address it directly, but to ask for my need to be met and say, what I said was, hey, I'm noticing that you're walking ahead and you're not holding my hand when we walk, and I'd really like it if you held the door open for me and held my hand.
Yeah.
Now, he could have said to me, this is the risk, so I had to risk that he would say something like, you know what, Layla, you are so needy. Like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
me needy when I don't have any needs, right? Like I was really clear about, no, not me, needy?
Yeah.
Right? But he could have said that. I had to take the risk that I would hear that from him. You're so needy, and, I don't want to see you anymore. There's the rejection, or, it's just too much for me. Why would you even need that from me? He could have said,
Yeah.
I'm really not into, he could have said, like, I have OCD or something in it, like something about like touching things or whatever. Like, he could have said something like that and said, I just am nervous about that and I don't want to hold your hand, or, well, now we can negotiate. Let's go get a pair of gloves. We only need one pair of gloves. I'll put one on one hand and you can put, now we both get our needs met, right?
Michael
Like, it's the
Jackson. Michael Jackson.
possibilities. There you
Yeah.
go. But the possibilities open up when you take the risk.
Yeah. How did
And
that,
and so,
if you don't,
yeah. hmm
if you don't mind me asking, how did that conversation pan out?
Yeah, well, he said to me, this huge relief, like I could see it on his whole body. He said, Layla, there's nothing more than I would like to hold your hand, open the door for you. But the relationship I was in for 12 years, she was angry with me if I held the door. And, one time she slipped a little bit and I tried to help her up and she got so mad at me, and she didn't want any. So I didn't really know how to approach this with you. So thank you so much for asking for that. And then from that day forward, he did hold my hand and open the door, and yeah. But it's the risk. Like, he could have said those other things. He could have.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing that I would want people to know is that, and what you, to your previous question around how I help people, to transition this is to take those risks. Like, we'll really identify the behaviors that have been keeping someone stuck for so long in repeating the same kinds of relationships over and over again. And now what is it that really needs to happen in order for you to get a different response? And then when they do that, it's like, wow, like this just like it's like a whole new world opens up. And I see that
A
pretty
lot of
consistently.
communication.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. That,
Yeah, a lot
that
of
seems to take a
communication for
lot of
sure.
emotional intelligence.
Yeah, we could use a lot more of that in this world, huh?
What do you think? What do you think? All right, so besides trauma and shame, what do you think the next prevalent, in your opinion, problem that people run into in relationships would be?
That's a really good question. I see so much of this is this early, you know, wounding. I would say making assumptions, assuming something and not checking it out. You know, like like you did this and so it means this. It comes back to the meaning that we're attaching to things. So if I'm
Okay.
assuming, and what I notice people will do also in dating is that they'll say, "Oh, well, he didn't do this, so it means this." Or she didn't do this, so it means that. Or she did this, and so
Yeah.
it means that. Like it's just so much meaning, and so we make up so much stuff in our heads, and we don't check it out. Like we could ask the person, "This is what I heard you say. Did you mean this? What did you mean by that?" But people don't tend to do that, and then
Yeah.
it just spirals.
I
Then
I love the saying. I heard this a while back that we tend to assign motives to other people and intentions to ourselves.
motives to other people and intentions to ourselves. Tell me more.
So we judge other people by their actions. So let's say,
Hmm.
and I guess it gets a lot more complicated in the context of the situation because or of this conversation because what somebody will seem to cross us. Let's say something simple like someone cuts us off in traffic. All right, but we can draw a parallel to relationships with this. And we're like, oh, that was a fucking asshole. He don't give a fuck about me, right? But then we cut somebody else off in traffic, and we're like, well, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm in a rush.
I'm
This
in
is
a
a
hurry.
perfectly good
Yeah.
reason for me to do that, and
Yeah,
I think
good
we do that in
reason.
relationships a
I
lot.
see. Yeah, I agree. I agree. We always have a
Yeah.
reason for what we do, right? And yeah, then we blame people for what they do. Yeah, that makes sense. That
So
tracks.
what? So where can people reach you if they're looking for help? I saw your book on Amazon. I know your book is on Amazon. Where can like what social media platforms? Where can people reach you if they're wanting to contact you and find help?
Yeah, I'd say just go to my website at leilareyes.com, and it's Leilareyes, leilareyes.com. And I
Okay.
also have a podcast as well. It's called From Trauma to True Love. And I took a few months off. I'll be starting that back up pretty soon. Um, and so that would be another area that I'm talking about the impact, how to get free of the impact that early trauma has on our adult lives. Yep. So those are the two places. Of course, I'm on Facebook, Leila Reyes, MSW, and a couple other places. But the best place is just through my website.
Okay. And so
Yeah.
what so in wrapping up a little bit, we're at 48 minutes. In wrapping up, what have we not discussed that you think is probably the most important message for people to have when it comes to relationships and love and trauma and shame? Any of that? What have we not
Mm-hmm.
talked about that
Mm-hmm.
you would really want people to resonate with?
Yeah, I think we've talked about it all really, but I would say that one way of saying it is that if we can take radical responsibility and see ourselves as the source of our experience instead of what someone else is doing, who am I being? How am I showing up? How do I want to show up in relationship? How do I want to, right? So it's really about us being the source of our experience and that we're responsible for that. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've got one more question. Um,
Okay.
so I do this thing, okay, where I ask people something super personal, at the end of the relationship to kind of bring humanity into it. Because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we get on here and we're like, well, I got this figured out. And we love to talk about what we have figured out. I'm really big on
Mm-hmm.
failure. I am very big on when I post online, I post my failures along with my
Yeah.
triumphs because I never want
Mm-hmm.
people to think that everything is just, I think we fail more than we triumph and we learn more from failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Yeah. Yeah.
what do you what do you still struggle with personally?
I think that one of the biggest things that I struggle with is because of all of these, um, the beliefs and the impact that this has had on my life and my relationships, is that when I was when I separated from my husband, um, I was a wonderful mom. I was a really great mom. And when we decided to separate, something happened where it was like everything just drained from my body and I left. Like I disappeared. And so what I'm struggling with still is in the repairing of those relationships, especially with my daughter, is
Okay.
that I did something that my mother did to me, which I would have, I swear I would never do. And so that's something that really still hurts my heart is the way in which I left the relationship way back then. It's been 20 years now
Yeah.
that I left that relationship, but it still really hurts my heart. And 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 I wish that I could take it back and do it differently. And if I had the awareness today, then if I had the awareness back then that I do today, I would have done it differently. So I
Right.
struggle with, really cutting myself slack or, still taking responsibility for that. And at the same time, being gentle with myself. And sometimes it's hard to do that. I
Thank
don't
you.
like hurting people that I love.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of
Hmm.
times we end up hurting people. We're human, so I think we
Yeah.
have degrees of hurt, and I think a lot of that
Hmm.
ties into the motives or the
Yeah.
how we assign people's actions. Um,
Right.
um,
Hmm.
thank you for that, and thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. I am, and if you have any links you would like to send me, I will put them underneath the podcast so that people can contact you directly. And I'm going to also put your book underneath it. So thank you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.